I went into a dimension, another world that was not mine. My whole life I've lived in faith, limitless power, because I've been connected to God before time. I died at birth, and God asked me, should I stay or go? He gave me that free will, and He told me what it would be like to stay here on earth. He showed me that it would be a fight, to fight through pain and suffering. And He mandated me with His power. And He chose me and told me that He knew that I could assist with the evolution of the heart, the evolution of earth. And I lived a life connected to God. No fear. No fear. The only fear I had was from my children. That's a mother's heart. But I didn't have fear of the man-made systems and programs and mindsets that most struggle with. I never had that. And so I chose to go into a world that had all of that. So much fear, so much suffering, so much limited mindsets, scrutiny, deception, betrayal to self, betrayal to others because of pain, lack, financial lack, emotional lack, spiritual lack. I chose to completely allow the world that I knew, the world that was free, to be suffocated. The world of love that was dwelling inside of me from being connected to God since forever. I chose to go into a dark dimension to show the way, to assist the soul to see different. A rescue mission. A understanding of a force of nature coming into a space that was not my own, to try to pull others out from the pit of hell that was displaced from their own experiences and their own willpower and their own pain that kept them in a cell, mentally, physically, emotionally. And so what happens when you go into somebody else's world? It doesn't matter how anointed you are. If your anointing cannot be received at the capacity that you hold, meaning the world that you're in cannot hold your anointing. You can plant seeds. You can show the way. But if you're not held sacredly, then your anointing is not able to penetrate the field that it needs to. And eventually what starts taking place is the environment starts diluting your anointing by your will, right? Because we all have free will. And because of my servant heart, kept choosing to armor up, to not leave souls behind. Because I understand my power, the power of God within me, that God gave me when I died at birth, and He showed me what it would be like. And He's told me recently, daughter, you've done enough. You've done all you can do in that dimension. You didn't have to. You didn't have to, but you did anyway. For love. For love for people. For love for the lost. And what I realize is that even in that space, I found more of me, even if I left me behind to assist in certain aspects. That the power vested in me, that has always been my birthright, that has always been with me, did not die, could not be buried. No matter what attack, no matter how I was being portrayed, no matter how my gift was being tarnished by words spoken over me due to another's pain and suffering, that no matter what was said to me, the only voice that remains is God's. The only voice that is still breathing inside of me, fully activated, is God's. Because no matter what we choose to do, no matter how long we stay in environments that don't elevate us, that take more than they give, God is still my Father. I am still His daughter. And He sees why I chose that way. And I also see why. We all have different wounds. Some that are still sitting in our cells. Some we don't even know they're there. But our body knows. Because our body is our first responder. And if we get quiet enough and self-aware enough, we will be able to hear from the deepest part of ourselves at a cellular level. And we will feel what we need to feel in every space, even the ones we didn't have to go into. We will understand why, through the root, because of our connection to a higher dimensional field, a higher perspective that has always been us, if we have been that tapped in. And so, wherever you are, it is your choice, always. Nobody can choose for you. If you are in a field of suffering because of your choice, choose different. If you know better and you keep choosing what is not bringing you life, because yes, you can have a mission and you can have a mandate and your anointing can be powerful, but if it's not received, you're in the wrong dimension. You've already penetrated the field as deep as you can. And you have to always reflect inside you to say, How is this serving me? Because you also matter. And I know that we can get caught up in doctrine, sacrificing like God did when we want to be made in his image. But we are not God, and we don't have to go into every wound that we see. Somebody told me that recently. And my heart is in service. I always feel deeply the emotional trauma and patterns and behaviors of others. I go inside people to hold space, and I can show them, but I cannot make them choose to heal. That is their space of becoming, returning to self. And so it is time in this present day to allow your anointing to be received in the dimension it was designed to. Because the level of power that God has given you was never to be caged, was never meant to serve one man or one space. Your anointing is a gift that is ever so present. But you must choose if the dimension that you are in has the capacity to receive at the level that God has placed inside you. And if it is taking more from you than it is giving, it is not an even exchange of energy, then it is time to disconnect from that dimension and go into the field where you can be held sacredly. You can be attuned to the inheritance that is on the inside of you, that is supposed to be flowing, not stagnant, that is supposed to be received, not resisted. Much love.